Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Safe Room. I'm your host, the President Sean Williams. I'm back with another episode today. Today's about to be a fun one. I'm about to tell you right now. Today's about to be a fun episode. Today, I have someone who I've been wanting to get for a while. And let me tell you something. The energy, it's about to be out the roof. Out the roof. Listen, she's an art practitioner, a 3-time author. She excels in spoken word poetry, performance, facilitation, and dance instruction. Come on now, listen. I know there are times in life where things get down and you need to get some motivation. So I get it. But at one point, there's a little phrase I like to tell myself. Everybody needs some koi in their life. So today, we got the one and only need some koi. Koi, how's it going?
Hey, Sean. Hello, the safe room. I'm so happy to be here. Honestly, it's been a long time coming, and it's a true honor to be in the safe room.
Of course, of course. I'm so glad we're doing this talk because I know, like, again, the energy that you bring. I know this is about to be like the most fun I've had all week so far. It's been a long week, so I need something to just get me like in a good mood.
Yes, I got you. I got you on some vitamin koi. Don't worry.
Perfect,
Yes.
perfect. And I don't remember exactly when was the first time we met, but it might have been a while ago. Like I said, there's been so much that's happened in between, and I'm just glad I've got the chance to meet someone like you because again, you're so inspirational and just even yourself being the artist that you are, the poet that you are, like your words have so much of an impact, but not just your words, your actions as well. So I'm really glad to be able to say I have someone like you in my network for sure.
Thank you so much. It's much appreciated, and I've seen you staying consistent with your grind as well. So it's very much a full circle moment for us.
Yeah, I know. It's not easy. Sometimes it's a little hard. I'm not gonna lie with you.
Listen, I did a podcast, like I had my own a few years ago, and I was like, wow, this is a lot. This is a lot. So I feel you, and I thank you for all the work that you do, all the work that we don't see behind the scenes. I definitely thank you for it because it's not easy, but it's that consistency that shows you that it's meant and it's your purpose.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. I really do appreciate it. But we're definitely going to get into a lot of the stuff that you're doing. So, I mean, I'm ready. But before we get into that, we have to start with our opening segment, the hot seat. Okay, so like, listen, this is like the warm up. All right, so we're warming up before we get into the actual race, before we actually get the running.
Okay, nice. A little stretch.
Yes, exactly. A little stretch. So I got 4 questions for you, and I just want them. I want you to answer them to your best abilities. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. So the first question. So outside of the work that you do, or being someone who, again, who's an artist, a poet, an author, art practitioner, all the names, but you have all the hats. Outside of that, tell me something about yourself in one sentence.
I like to sit under trees. Yeah, that's my one
That's it.
sentence. That's it.
Wow, I'm not gonna lie. I was kind of expecting some lyrical, spiritual type of saying. I thought like, okay, she's probably gonna draw some bar. Just like, nah, I just sit under trees.
Yeah, yeah. To remind people that it could be that simple to ignite and bring out that inner artist within yourself. Sometimes you really just have to sit under a tree.
I definitely feel you. I was gonna ask, like, do you think that even for you sitting under a tree, does that bring like any childhood memories? Because that's the first thing I think about, sitting under the tree and thinking as like a young kid, like looking at the sky.
Yes, that's exactly it. Giving your inner child a chance to actually shine and come back around. And I feel like that comes from doing the simple things. Like before, I would probably climb a tree. I'm not there anymore, but really just sitting under one, hugging a tree, and just reminding myself that like life can be as simple as it is for me as it is for this tree. If I just allow myself to be in the position that I'm supposed to be in based on where and how I was actually rooted.
I definitely feel that. I definitely feel that. That's really it's really good of thinking about that way. Because again, I mean, for a lot of times we have certain thoughts to certain like settings or scenarios, and it's kind of amazing how for you sitting under the tree, it could bring such different memories or just memory banks in the back of our heads. So I definitely feel like for me, again, when you said that, that was the first thing that clicked to me. And I feel like it's different. It's simple, but it touches on so much different things that, we may be thinking of, or other aspects that, we might be just telling other people. So like, of all the segments I've done so far, I've never had someone answer like that. It made me have to think like, hold on, wait a minute.
No, thank you, because sometimes we just think so much. There's so much to think about that I just enjoy the moments where I don't necessarily have to think, but I can just be in the moment. And so I want to remind people that they can do that too, and they can kind of like slowly take back without having to even be an artist. We all have something creative within us. We are all artists. It's just that some people make the choice to lean into it more.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. Okay, let's go on to the second question for this segment. Can you name an open mic that gave you the motivation to become a poet? Or specifically, can you name at least one moment where you may have attended an open mic, or maybe you were participating in one, or maybe you just heard of an open mic that thought to yourself, you know what? Maybe this is for me. Maybe I need to get into what this is, and it's gonna become my everyday moving forward. So like, maybe you could just share like, what was that one moment for you?
Yeah, I definitely have to shout out RISE Edutainment. It started as me being a participant in the audience and I saw Debbie Young perform. I never felt that type of energy in a room before. I'm like, there's so many people in here. We're all focused in on what they're saying and their expression, and like you could hear a pin drop, and like I was so drawn in. And I also have to say, I also felt that from Fatima as well, when she would perform, and I'm just like, wow, like you could really bring someone to tears with your words. I am so in awe that I want to do this. And it was in 2016, I believe, when I first did my first actual performance for Rise as a poet, because I was doing a bit of dancing, but when I stepped out and said like, no, I can do poetry too, and the reaction, I was just like, my words can also shake the room, so let me like lean into that a little bit more. So definitely Rise was a spot that really helped inspire me to see what could be possible with my artistry.
Absolutely. And for people who don't know, Rise Edutainment, an amazing organization, amazing group of people who, I'm telling you, if you are an artist out there in the community, like, they will give you all the support, the tools and resources needed. So I'm really glad to hear that your first start was with Rise, because again, they're absolutely amazing what they do. And again, it's, you mentioned it was you in being an audience member. Being an audience member, sometimes it's the times where we're going out to some place and you never realize that that one event could be the pivot that allows you to kind of blossom and find what you're good at, or figure out this is something I want to pursue. So it's really nice to hear that for you, going from an audience member to now I'm on the stages for Rise doing my poets, reciting these poems to everyone, and then eventually it expands to like bigger things, which we're definitely going to get into later on. So it's great to hear.
Yes, and that's a great reminder for people to just go out there. That day, I didn't know about Debbie Young before that day. So it's like you have to go out and allow yourself to see different things to actually figure out what you actually want to do.
Absolutely, and it's funny that you mentioned Debbie Young, because I actually did get to meet her once, and this was actually for a conference during my high school days. We ran this student-led conference called Black Brilliance, and basically we were trying to get a keynote speaker. So we got her for 1 year. I believe it was 2018. It might have been 2018, and it was like, she was absolutely amazing, man. Just her presence being there, it was just the aura was off the radar.
No, I especially I couldn't imagine being able to see her in high school. I was in my 20s when I first met her. And so just knowing that she's into high schools and that's the things that you were doing in high school as well, I'm just yes, full circle. And I definitely have a quick shout out after for her. But yeah.
Okay. For sure, for sure. But yeah, like, she's absolutely amazing. But again, it's great to hear for you, and just how everything got started. Again, one little open mic attended as an audience member can really change everything for you. So it's great to hear that. Okay, let's go to the third question now. So an interesting fact that you rarely share about yourself.
An interesting fact that I rarely share. Okay, this is very, very random, but it's okay to my head. I can only snap with one of my hands. Like, you know how like most people can snap with both? For some reason my left hand just never had the ability to snap. So when I'm in like poetry things and stuff, like I'm doing two, but there's really only sound from one.
Look, it's not even random because it's the same for me. I can only do like the left, but the right barely anything. So when like I'm doing this, it's like it's the left.
Yes. Oh my goodness. See, this is all you have to share. I've never met anybody who could like. Thank you. So now I know for sure that I am not alone. And guess what? We're still working both hands. We're still
Yeah.
working both those hands.
Look. I don't even think it's weird. I think it's just maybe just how our bodies are made up. There's funny things. There's funny things about our body that we just don't understand. But I think that's the beauty of it because it makes us unique. Sometimes we look at that and see a flaw, but I think it's more of this what makes me stand out. So like even for me, like I'm a lefty. I'm a left-handed southpaw right here. There's a lot of people that don't know
Yes.
that, and they probably think like, oh wow, you're a left-handed. It's like that's crazy. I'm like, what do you mean that's crazy? There's nothing wrong with being lefty. I mean, Southpaw gang right here, like so.
Exactly. Exactly. No, it's just something different. And again, like you said, just our body showing us different things.
Exactly. So you know what? I respect that. Yeah, that's probably my favorite fact that you share because I can totally relate to that for sure.
And I never thought that, I've never heard anybody else where they had the same thing. So I'm happy because I'm like, it is pretty random, but we move.
Yes, for sure. Okay, going to the final question for this segment. What is your personal safe room?
My personal safe room, honestly, it is the WhatsApp conversations with my dad. That
Okay.
is where I feel the safest, the most free, and where I can be the most vulnerable. It's truly, I've now deemed that space a home.
Wow, that's really nice. It's a very intimate space as well. You were very specific, so I really love that. I feel like a lot of people come on here, and no, I'm being serious. A lot of people come on here, and I always hear like, "Oh, it's my room," or maybe it's my car, or like even nature and everything like that. But you kind of touched really to home, like an actual moment or a relationship that you have with a significant person in your life, which I really think is very touching, but it shows the bond that you and your father have. I think that's really really beautiful.
Thank you so much. It really means a lot. And it was from doing a program where they asked me that question. And I had to think, I was like, where? I'm like, it's not a physical place. I'm like, I know that. So can I still talk about it? And the answer is yes.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people think when you ask the question, "What's their personal safe room?" It's like it has to be a physical space. Like, nah, like it could be somewhere inside. Maybe if it's like your imagination as well. Like, I know sometimes I be tuning out, especially if it's like I'm doing work. Sometimes I'm working, but next thing you know, I'm thinking about, yo, I wonder if I was in this country, just chilling at the beach, or like maybe I'm there with the homies, like at this red carpet event. It's like, yo, what am I doing? I need to be focusing on what's in front of me. But sometimes you need to get away from life. You need to get away from all the
Yes.
stresses and all the problems. So I totally get it.
Yes. And it starts with the imagination. So I feel you.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, that's all the questions I got for the opening segment. That was really good. I loved your answers. But now let's actually get into the meat and potatoes of this conversation, the stuff that you
Yes.
do. Because again, you have been busy this entire year alone. I mean, if we're talking about this year, my word.
Yes. It has been an amazing, amazing year. This has been, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So the first question I want to ask you is just what allowed you to like tap into poetry and like not feel so vulnerable about sharing your emotions. 'Cause I know for a lot of people when they look at poetry, it's kind of the feel where I don't want to be too expressive about myself because I don't want people to see all my like emotional sides. It becomes very complex, but I feel like for you you definitely show all emotions regardless, whether it's like I'm feeling happy, I'm feeling joyful or sad or angry. Like I can tell like you're someone that's just not afraid to just show it all. So like what allowed you to tap into poetry and just be vulnerable with your emotions?
What allowed me to really tap into my emotions was I stopped caring about what it looked like on the other end. When I let go of how I wanted to be perceived, and to be honest, and like more specifically, it was one day when after I went through my tragedy with grief, I had to go downtown to deal with just all this extra stuff that comes after somebody passes and all these things you have to deal with. And I was going downtown and I was so sad because I still didn't understand all that was going on. And I was on the train, the subway, and I just started crying. I was in public, right? And I think it might have been rushed hour too, I don't even know. But the way that I cried, I wasn't even like crying. I was literally bawling on the train. But I feel like that moment, I said I don't care what anybody thinks about how I express myself because if someone is looking at me and they first of all if they do understand me then like I'm happy that they do, and if they don't I'm also happy that they don't understand me too. So I don't even want them to feel the pain that I'm feeling, but I want them to feel that they can release as well. So I just started even looking at people who like are screaming in the street and stuff like that. I look at it differently. I'm like, this is just someone who honestly they just don't care anymore. And I think it's a beautiful thing because once you learn to not care, you can do more from your heart and you're not necessarily doing it because you care how it looks or how it's supposed to look. And on that day in the train, I didn't care. And from then, I never looked back in holding back my tears in a public setting or not. And from that, so many people have come to me saying like, yeah, like, I wish I could cry more. And like, they've gained so much off of me just being vulnerable with myself. One more thing I want to add is that I felt like, why should I have to deal with all these emotions by myself? Like, why should I suffer with all of this? I need to start getting it out there. Someone could be a light while they're going through their darkness as well.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. And yeah, you hit on a lot of points. Again, sometimes we're going through our moments of grief and it could be very rough. It's so rough that we have different ways of coping. And again, for you, it's like just traveling one day on like on the subway, just like going down, and just all of a sudden just the waterworks came out. So
Yes, yes. They cleared a path.
I know. And like I definitely can relate to sometimes again, we have those random outbursts of grief, and sometimes it's hard for us to really kind of shape ourselves back. It's like, okay, let me just try to get through. And I feel like that's one thing that, a lot of us don't really take the time to like, you know what? Let me just let it out. Again, like I'm already in this state. Why am I trying to like hold back all this pain when eventually it might just creep back up to me and like it's gonna get worse and worse, and you just need to let it out. And I even want to add, for you being a black woman, I can only imagine as well, like showing all that grief in a public setting. That's where like people start to turn their heads, and then certain thoughts or certain social norms come to kick into play. Like how does that now like come into realization, like what, me being a black woman going through this grief, I still feel like it's okay to just release and not care about what other people have to say about me, how I'm dealing with this pain, but also like I can be proud of the fact that what, I'm accepting just what's going on.
Yes, I truly became proud of it because I'm like, screw your strong black woman ideology. I'm not a strong black woman, and I'm still okay with that right now. And if that makes you feel uncomfortable, then that's something that you have to deal with, you know. And it was really just getting myself away from that ideology that I have to always be strong. Then I realized I was strong even in my weakest moments.
Absolutely. So yeah, I definitely commend you on that sentiment, because again, it's hard. Like there's times that we're going through things that we keep to ourselves and we don't want to share with other people. So again, sometimes we need that little secular space, that calm space to just kind of release everything, but also acknowledge the fact that what, even though I'm going through this right now, at least I'm accepting it, and from there there's only growth.
Exactly. That was really like it was looking back. It was like a training time for what I've been doing in the past few years.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay. Now I mentioned this at the beginning of the show where your little saying that you like to say is everybody needs some koi in their life, which by the way, that's I love it. I love it. It's just when you hear it, it gets you already smile. It's an automatic smile on someone's face. So I love it.
Thank you. It's crazy because it started off as like a conversation with a friend where I was looking to change my Instagram name because it was like I love my Caribbean girl, and I'm like, okay, I'm getting older. I'm trying to focus in now on something, a narrative that I have. And so they said like, oh, you know what? Everyone needs to, and it was like kind of like a play off of that show. Everyone loves Raymond. Everyone needs Raymond, or that
Mm,
show.
yeah.
Yes, it's kind of like a play off that, and they were like, well, everyone needs some Shakkoi in their life, and I'm like, I love that, but it's kind of long. So I'm like, how could I actually like slow it down or make it shorter? And I'm like, okay, instead of everyone needs some koi in their life. What about like everyone needs some koi, aka needs some koi? And then I really just like played on that name, needs some koi, and it just went really far, even to now with the point, through the help of my dad, based on a conversation we were having, Koi actually is, it's my name and it is a piece of me. But why I say meet some Koi as well is because Koi stands for kindness on impact. And that's something that we all need, especially when we're feeling the things I talk about is anger, grief, and anxiety. And when we're feeling anger, grief, and anxiety, what do we actually need? Some kindness. Anybody who feels like they're going through something, some kindness really helps. And so I'm like, wow, everyone really does need some koi because everyone can use some more kindness in their life. And so it really has been able to grow into this whole entity where I'm just like, wow, like you never know, but keep trying.
I love the way you broke that down because I thought again it was just like okay, koi, it's just Shakoi, shortened version, simple as that. But again, how it goes into like an abbreviation in a way that it breaks it down to like kindness or impact. That's wow, that's amazing. You know what? I'm gonna be honest. I wish you said that for your interesting fact. If you could swap that with the whole like snapping situation, I would have done that personally because that no that blew my mind. I had to pause for a second. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, so okay, I'll keep that in mind for future.
But no, like
Yeah.
I think that's so great, and you definitely you kind of answered the follow up question I was gonna ask, like why it's important for you to kind of share that energy that you've like kind of encapsulated with your name and like different spaces where like positivity manifestation are like accepted, but even also to like spaces outside. You kind of did say that because again, everyone needs that kindness over impact, and sometimes we don't realize how much we need someone that's going to say, you know what, like, I hope you're doing good in your journey, or I hope that everything's going well. We're always thinking about, ah, man, I got to get this done, or, I don't know what everyone else is thinking, or if I don't succeed in this task, I'm going to
Yeah.
let people down. But I feel like for you, you're like the shining light that kind of beams around everyone. It's like, listen, like, you got this. And like, don't let yourself down. Don't put yourself down.
Yes. Yes, that's exactly it. Because it's too easy to, and like even I really like to reach out to like the people who are angry because it's like maybe a lot of the times people just need someone to ask them, are like, have you asked yourself why you feel angry? Have you asked yourself why or how you can potentially change? So I've just seen a lot more impact through love than this power of aggression.
Yeah, I definitely feel it. And I like how you say that you reach out to like people who may be angry because it's kind of easy to reach out to someone that when they're in a good state where it's like, okay, like I might be good, they may be good, so the vibes are great. It's even harder sometimes to be like, you know what? I know this person's going through a hard time and they probably don't want to hear me, but I'm gonna let them know like I'm still here for you and like I want to see like how can I support. If it's not that we can have a full conversation, maybe I can just check in and say like, hey, I hope you're doing okay, or like, are you feeling all right, man? Like, cause you know what? I even try to do that. I try to do the same. It's like sometimes I
Yeah.
may not talk to people for a long period of time, and like, okay, I'm probably going to provide an example and I want to see if this connects to anyone listening. I just want to know if you relate. You know, when sometimes you're just chilling, wherever you're at, and then you randomly think of a person just in the back of your head that you haven't talked to in a while, and you tell yourself, I should call this person, just see what's going on, like that is me. Like I've been thinking about so much people recently. I'm like, you know what? I need to just call them and just let them know like what's up. And then when I do, they're like, hey, like it's been a long time. Like, yeah, how you been? It's like, cool. I mean, why are you calling? I'm like, just because I just wanted to call you. I can't say hello. I can't say how you're doing. It's like, oh, I really appreciate that. And you know what? That brings out some joy into some people because they wouldn't expect that.
Exactly. A check-in goes a long way, especially when it's not like wrapped in something else, you know? So, and then they also get used to receiving love that's not necessarily needed to be like reciprocal at that moment, you know? So that's beautiful. So to anyone listening, that person in the back of your mind, send them a message or a call.
Definitely, for sure, for sure. So, yeah, I'm kind of glad that you did go into details in terms of your name, but also, again, for anyone listening, the hardest part for any artist, creator, or entrepreneur, it's the branding. So, again, kudos for you trying to like figure everything out in terms of like just the name and the approach of everything. Because again, like obviously, with the originate that you mentioned, I literally forgot what you said for that. Because again, it was like it was a lot, but to break that down to need some koi, again, it takes a lot of time and like just a consideration of how you want to like personify yourself amongst your peers.
Thank you. And just shows that you can do it. You can create the thing that you wanted. And I always would think, I'd hear that. I'm like, but how? But how? But it's going through the process and believing that you still can.
Yeah. Okay, I want to go on to the next question. So the next one, what would you say is the toughest part about being yourself with people, especially to those who may not be like artistic or even like get in tune with the arts? So maybe they're not someone who likes to like go to open mics or go to events and connect with different artists and creators. How do you feel it's like the hardest part for you to like be yourself? Because again, sometimes you may be thinking, "Oh, I'm just being me," and someone may like that. But to other people, they be thinking like, okay, it's a little too much energy for me. Like you might need to slow down and everything. Like this is a lot. So I mean, like I just want to know, like, how do you try to find the best ways to like share your story to people who may not have, I wouldn't say the capacity because I feel like that's me kind of being very disrespectful, but more just like wants to learn a little bit more. So like imagine for myself, I may not know nothing that you do, or I'm not even someone that follows the arts that much, but you may come to me one day, or maybe we meet over like a cup of coffee and you start telling me about the stuff that you do. And it's like, yeah, like I can't relate, but like me, I kind of want to know a little bit more. Like, how do you try your best to like open up the conversation and let people into your world in the best way possible?
This reminds me of working with the grade fours and threes actually with their poetry and like how I got them to actually start writing. And honestly, one thing that I've realized is that one thing that's very relatable, and I love that you said that because that's also why I need some coin. Because I know I have so much to offer. It's like, you can start with a little piece, see how you do with that, and we can keep building. And so one thing that I found is in common across the board, even down to like some. I was working with like a 6-year-old once, a kindergartner doing expressing how they felt, and it's actually anger. Everyone has something that they are actually angry about. So when I come to them on the level of like, yes, I do all these things, but I don't necessarily do these things because I'm so jolly and happy and it's so great. It's actually because I'm working against my anger and actually like it's like I'm like hugging my anger and listening to what else it has to say. And ooh, almost made me cry. But like, cause it's truly like it's literally like I feel like I'm like hugging my anger, and then that's what I'm hearing about anxiety and all these other things. But just taking that moment and showing people that yo, like, when's the last time you hugged your anger? So just asking them questions that allow them to think more about themselves, I feel really helps me connect with people across the spectrum, the globe, whatever, because it's really I'm asking them to help them. So that's why they get interested because they see like, okay, yeah, she's about herself, but like I could actually learn something here. So yeah, that kind of vibe.
Mm, yeah, I appreciate your answer because again, You even gave a perfect scenario when it comes to like little children, because sometimes it's hard to like, how can I condense the stuff that I'm doing right now to children who, again, they're trying to like, they're not even thinking about these things. They're just being a kid. They're just chilling. So I mean, how do I take everything that I'm doing right now and break it to like children? Because I know what you're doing, because I'm trying to do the same thing with my podcast. I'm like, I want to teach, people how to start their own podcast, and I might want to go into like middle school and everything like that. But it's like, I don't know. Like, I can't be going in there talking about like, okay, so we got like dynamic headphones or dynamic microphones, XLR
Yes,
cable. It's just to be like, bro, what are you talking about, sir? Like, we don't know none of this. So like,
right?
I definitely feel you.
Yes, and honestly, it's about asking them, finding a way for them to see themselves in it or put themselves within it. Like, so okay, you guys like a movie or something. So okay, you like that story. What's your story? If you were to write your story, how would you start it? Something like that, so that it and it also circles back to sitting under the tree, because it's just that sitting and thinking that allows the imagination to really grow and like foster into so much more.
Definitely, for sure. I love that. Absolutely love that. Okay, I want to get into your book, because yeah, it's the fun part of the episode right now. So I feel you. I feel
Yes.
you. Listen. Sometimes when you hear a certain thing about yourself that you want to get into in a conversation or an interview or a podcast, people get excited. So, I definitely want to talk
Period.
about your book, because this was something that you were pushing heavy near like the end of the summer with good reason. And you know what? Listen, ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you right now, like, I need to get myself a copy, because I'm clearly slacking behind in terms of like not getting a purchase, but. I definitely want to get into your book. I'm trying to pull up the notes, so like I might be stalling for time right now. So
Yes, no worries. I got you. Okay, keep scrolling. The book is called Poems of Pain and Power. It is my third and final poetry book. This book is really it's for the people, them, all right. Jamaica come out now, because just like my roots and how I was really able to really look back at my life and not only see the things that have helped me overcome the honestly almost nearly impossible situations, but how I was actually able to get people to think again about themselves while they're reading the book. Because when I first had my first two books, I used to write people little prompts on a note when I would like deliver it to them. So I'm like, yeah, I want you to read the book, but like, can you also read yourself a little bit? So it's not just a book, it's like an experience. And so with this book, there's actually a bunch of prompts at the back of the book. So you're able to not only have writing prompts that allow you to write, but you can match them to different poems as well to give you an idea of how you can think more about it and really think about like how you can really get yourself out of whatever situation that you're in with your mindset.
I like that. I definitely like that. And again, for you saying that this is a book for like, your heritage, being like from like Jamaican heritage and like the roots and everything, that's really great, because you're definitely touching into that side of you that you grew up with. And I can definitely relate or hear something along the likes where you said, I want to have people read the book, but also like, it's an experience for them. It's not just like, okay, reading words, but like every single like line or like stanza. Am I saying that correctly? Is it stanza? I want to get technical with the term. So
Yes, yes, yes,
okay,
yes. Stanzas, yes.
okay. I just listen, guys. I'm learning as we go. So I mean, I'm still trying to like, I'm trying to make sure we're on the same playing field. But like, yeah, every stanza is hidden, and it's
Yes.
it's touching them in some way. So I really respect that. I want to ask also, in addition, in terms of just the process, just how long did it take? I can only imagine. Listen, I am not even a reader. If I read something for 5 minutes, I'm falling asleep. No matter what, it doesn't matter. It's like, I want to know, how was it actually putting this together, the rollout. I can only imagine just the hours for that.
It has been insane. This book definitely has been a long time coming, especially because it is picking out the better pieces from my first two books. They're also in here with a bunch of new ones. And so really being able to see them all together and like the process of deciding which one I'm going to put in, which one I'm going to keep out, these things can be very daunting. And I feel like with my, it's like each time I wrote the first two ones, right after it was released, I wrote an amazing poem, and I'm like, okay, so is that book trash now? Because now this great new poem that I want to share isn't even in this book. So how do I leverage it when I perform and all these things? But now, like, this is the all of the pieces, the new, the classics. They're all really embedded in here, and there's just been so much love put towards the process, even to how the front cover came together. Everything about this process has been so organic. It's been definitely difficult each step of the way because at the end of the day, you're putting out your heart. You're being very vulnerable. Now you're putting that in print for anyone to be able to pick up. It's definitely not for the weak, but I recommend it to everyone because why shouldn't you tell your story? Not I won't say better, but in a bigger way than just through video form. Why not like leave a real mark for yourself? And on this book, I want to shout out Debbie Young again. Is because she actually gave me a quote for this book. So now at the back of the book, I have information there and a quote that she said. She said, "Shakkoi, you are an incredibly powerful and magical being." And when I tell you that alone could really bring me to tears because like you're seeing me and like I saw you to see me, you know? So
I love it. I absolutely love it. And yeah, it's been amazing to kind of see just how this book has, the impact alone in such a short period of time. And like I just want to read out some statistics for everyone out here because like we have to. We're all about praising and showing love, okay? And listen, if you think I'm just bullshitting, nah, it's on her site. So that's where you get the facts,
period.
okay? Let me just start with first best-selling African poetry. Okay, that's the
Mm,
first one.
mm, 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 mm.
Best-selling in Caribbean and Latin American poetry. But there's more. It was number one in hot new releases in poetry. And listen, just for a little kicker, number one new releases in Canadian poetry. I mean, come on now. Big up yourself, Koi.
Thank you. Oh God, I literally get emotional hearing this stuff because sometimes when you're in the process of it, you don't realize what can actually come of it. So I'm in a lot of appreciation. I won't say I'm in shock because I don't want to think that I didn't think that I couldn't do it. And that's why I want to say I'm in appreciation because it actually happened. And we're really still just at the beginning. I'm about to do an event on the 21st with the Black Book Fair and being able to now go into schools because with my other books there were swear words in them because honestly at that point I just needed to release like brrrr, you know,
Yeah.
with my writing. I need to get it out, and then because I let myself do that freely, that's why now for this third book I was like, okay, now I'm here for the people because I know myself enough and I'm confident enough in how I've helped myself with these this type of art that I know that it can help others. And it doesn't mean that one thing I made sure to put in the book is just because you have a journal or you start writing prompts, that doesn't mean that you have to perform them. You don't have to be an artist. You can just write for yourself. You can write a journal for your family, your close members. Like, you know, it doesn't have to be something that you're looking to sell and do all these things with because when I started writing my poetry, or not, I started writing poetry, yeah, through journaling. But it was for myself first. And then I was just doing that constantly. And then it became like 9 years of me doing this. Then I looked back and I was like, oh, wait, this whole thing could be a book as opposed to me trying to struggle to write a book now. So, my biggest takeaway that I want people to get from listening to me, knowing me, hearing me, is just please just write something for yourself.
I definitely feel you, and it's great to hear that you were just very authentic and raw in the book as well. Because again, I feel like a lot of times when we get in that process where we have to write a book, we tend to like peel back layers of ourselves because we're so worried about the outside reaction. Like, if I go too in, maybe they don't say I'm a crazy, or maybe I'm like, okay, this person's doing too much. But for you, like you saying like, yeah, there's explicit content in there. So like, if you see that in your library where it's like, listen, like it's just you being authentic. And listen, I just have to say too, when I was in school, anytime I found a book where there was like cuss word or swearing, that was like the most funniest thing to me. Cause it's like, bro, like that's when you knew it was real. It was good.
you know?
Like I definitely relate to you. So yeah, don't even apologize for that because I know for some people they'll think like I don't know, this is my taste. If it's not your taste, then it's maybe not for you, and that's all right because for someone else it's gonna be their cup of tea. It's gonna be something that they can meditate on and they can actually, take something away from it. And that's one thing I feel like that's what books need to do. There has to be a takeaway. I shouldn't be
Yes.
reading something and I'm just like bored, like after like act one.
Thank you. Like, come on, people, we need to really take in. We are fighting against technology now, right? So you have to give more with your books. You have to give some tea. Okay, gotta give some tea with the book. Don't write
Yes.
a boring book.
Yes, yes. And I love as well that you mentioned how you want to like leave a long, everlasting impact with your books, which is really great. I'm definitely trying to see for myself, like, what can I do in my own stuff that I can leave like a long, everlasting impact. So, and for people can go back to reference point, like, this is like the journey of Sean Williams. Like, this is what he did to start from here to get to this point. So, I love how for you, this is something that people can look back towards, like those three books, not just this recent book, but all these three books. It's a trilogy that you could say like
Yes.
this was from Koi, and this kind of encapsulates everything. It's her victory lap in a way. Her victory lap.
No, for real.
I'm sorry if I'm getting you so emotional. It's just like I
No, no,
can't.
it's okay. It's okay. Honestly, any podcast that I'm on, they would like bring tissues because they know I might cry on it because my heart is just so open and I just feel very deeply and I don't shy away from that. So don't worry, the tears are normal, and that's why with my logo it has tears because I'm like I probably cry like every day to be honest for various things and like I'm okay with that and I think that's what allows me to show up even more as a light because I embrace the darkness as well.
Yeah, for sure. But look, just again, this is the safe room. We're all about having a safe space for not only people to share, but to like just be open. So if you had to cry, then cry. Listen, I had a previous conversation with someone and they made me tear up because of the kind words they were sharing to me. So like it's not even like you're not the first person to come on here and cry. I've cried myself or teared up a bit, so
Yes.
it's common.
Yes, and there's a lot you just said about how you want to make your mark. You're already making your mark. You're already deeply making your mark, and I even hear from you saying that you were doing the Black Brilliance campaign thing from when you were in high school. I wasn't doing that in high school. I wasn't trying to save anybody. So it's like,
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
still going on to today as well. So like we started that back in like 2016 and like it wasn't just me, it was a collective of individuals that came together and like again we it's like a yearly conference that we do. So for me, I went to Downview Secondary, so that's like near Keelan and Wilson. So we've been able to like do like student led workshops and touch upon like different topics like microaggression, police brutality, black wealth, black hair. Like we talked to a lot of different things, and we have like facilitated to over like 1,000 students in the span of like I think this is probably like year 6, year 7 now. It's been a long time.
Yes, and so you are already making a huge impact because you already know the things that you brought to your high school. You didn't just leave it there; you kept it going, and now you give back to them. So, Sean, I just want you to know you don't ever have to think about how you're gonna stamp in your legacy. You already have. It's really just how you're gonna continue to do that because you already have. And I'm hearing a memoir. I'm hearing even maybe a kid's book of how you got into podcasting. The opportunities are endless.
Yeah, you know what? Since we're on that topic, I will say this. There's something I've been wanting to do that I'm keeping in my back pocket. But
Okay.
I am a huge like music lover. I love listening to music. For me, it's like R&B, like 2000s cuz like I was born in 2000. That's the music I grew up on and everything like that. I've
Yes.
wanted to create like a conceptual album kind of documenting my journey as a podcaster, like through like music and songs there. So like that's definitely like in my back pocket. I mean, there's a reason
Yes.
why the theme song for this podcast is like it's a song by me. because like I wanted to kind of capsulate everything that I'm doing right now. So like just for anyone who knows, like if you ever hear in the future that I'm dropping an album that's gonna be like a conceptual album releasing my stuff, you heard it from this conversation, okay? Like no
I'm here
nothing else.
for
Like
it. Manifest it. You speak it, and then it continues to happen. So I love that. And
mm,
even based off what you were saying, you already have like a concept for it as well. So I shared something today that was like, the idea came to you. So don't dash it away. It came to you. So build on that like you continue to. So yes, I'm looking forward to it.
appreciate it. I appreciate it. So I want to talk about self-expression, which again we've kind of talked about it a little bit, little bits of it in it, but I definitely want to get into the real conversation because when it comes to self-expression, it becomes such a topic, a tricky topic, excuse me, and basically for a lot of people, again with self-expression, I do feel like we have that willingness to express ourselves in different ways, but I also feel like depending in like the scenario or the setting, we tend to like code switch. We tend to like, okay, you know what? If I'm with these group of people, I'm not gonna show too much of my personality. Or like if I'm with my friends and I feel comfortable, then I'll kind of, let everything loose. But I definitely feel like for us, it's still an ongoing thing. And I try my best to not only through these conversations allow people to feel like their authentic self, like for you right now I feel like I'm seeing the authentic version of Koi, but even to like my listeners to hear from these conversations how they're very open-ended and it's not structured. I feel like what makes my podcast so different is it doesn't follow the formula of okay, question answer, we'll take a quick intermission, question. No, it's like we break the boundaries here. All right, we're snapping
Yes.
all the boundaries. So what would you say, or like what can you share with everyone that could be a great way to tap into self-expression and help them feel authentic with their voice, with their personality, and just with their energy?
That is a great question. And what's coming to me in the most authentic way is surrounding yourself with people, things, places, and events that reflect your most authentic self, even if it's not always the face that you present. Because the more that you get in tune with that authentic self, then you can be okay with the code switching that you kind of have to do anyways. Like sometimes you're with your friends, sometimes you're with your grandmother, right? But when you know your authentic self, it's okay because you know what you're coming back to and you know the people, the places, the things that allow you to show up in your most authentic way. And I think it really comes down to with how safe you feel. If someone feels unsafe, you're not going to hear a story about their childhood, or you're not going to be able to ask them certain questions because there's a guard up. But I think that real allowing yourself to be authentic comes from knowing that you have safe spaces where you can be. So even if you go somewhere else and you're supposed to be one way, you still can show up in a different way, still as yourself within that bound. Because like I go into schools with my loud colors. I'm like, yes, I'm a teacher today. Sit down, you know. But like because if I came trying to fit what the norm is, then I wouldn't be comfortable being myself. So I can still be my authentic self there without them necessarily getting, oh, the whole I'm with my friends version because I have friends to be that way with. I have my dad where I can be my most authentic self. So I think it's really channeling in and finding those right places, spaces, and events where you're able to know yourself more so you can show up and do a little bit of code switching because you have sometimes, but know that it's like temporary. And as soon as you go outside, you're putting on like not even as soon as you go outside, you're walking in with your Ankara fabric, okay, and you're sitting at the table and you're looking everybody in the eyes. So that's my answer. I really think it's really just knowing that I can be in other places allows me to not necessarily feel like I have to be when I don't feel safe to be.
I really like that. You mentioned like, even like going out to events and sometimes when you go out to like different events and meet different people, you tend to kind of get the vibe. I this maybe it's just me. There's a vibe where you can tell like I can be myself or even like it's unintentional. You'll be talking to someone and then they'll even let you know like wow, like you're so authentic right now. It's just like, "Really?" I'm like, I'm really trying to be very like formal and everything like that. But if you're saying that I'm like really authentic, then maybe it's something I'm not really realizing from within. Maybe it's something I'm not really tapping in, or maybe it's like I'm not having the right conscience to really think about and reflect. Because like even for me, like I tell people if I have the chance, I'm an actual goofball. Like I am an absolute goofball. But when I speak, people think like, "Oh, you're so authentic." I'm like, maybe there's like different parts of my authenticity that like sometimes it shows more than the other. Like maybe like when I'm home, like at most times I'm the goofball or with my friends. And maybe when I'm in a setting, it's because like, wow, like Sean is like he's so like supportive for his personality in terms of like wanting to like see people win. Like it shines through, but it's like there sometimes you may see that little goofiness popping once in there. And like, you
Yes.
know, like again, I feel like there's different traits about ourselves that we tend to maybe not realize. And, you know, maybe it's just get into again, love ourselves a little bit more, have that strong connection with ourselves where, like, you know what, I'm going to appreciate, you know, every aspect of me. So, you know, I don't feel this like this huge gray cloud hovering over my head in terms of like, I don't want to express myself, you know?
Yes, or I'm trying to express myself in a certain way. Kanye said it. I think it's Kanye. 'Cause when you try hard, that's when you die hard. Because if you're always trying, then who are you really? And I think what people are saying with how what they're saying about how you're so authentic, I think what they're also saying is that you're very refreshing.
Right.
It's a refreshing energy that's coming. It's like, okay, you're in this formal place. You don't have to be. You're not like super like tight. So they're like, yes, you can be like that in this space as well. And I definitely can relate to that.
Yeah, for sure. And like, you know what? I'll even add on to this. There are times where you will be in a space where, you know, it's hard for you to like kind of open up. And that's happened to me multiple times, ladies and gentlemen. I was recently at an event like a couple months ago and it was like very exclusive. I got a +1 from someone and like she had to like guide me like she was like my helping hand. So like she would always introduce me to other people like, "Oh, this is Sean. He does this and that." It's not because I was shy. I think it was the matter of like I don't know no one here. And usually when I go to events, I know a couple people. But this one, it was like top heavy entrepreneur. And I'm just like, yeah, I don't know if it's the time for me to like be goofy or anything like that. But it's great. It's great because I will say this. Sometimes you being in a space where you're not as comfortable allows you to not only take in the full room as a like a full, but also it's like, you know what, I'm learning from these things. So now like when I come back and you know I step into another setting like this, I won't be so afraid. I know how to like just be authentic but just in a different approach.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly it. So that you're not losing yourself when you're showing up in these different places. You still know who you are because that value actually, that's what makes you like that it to be different to be there. Because they don't want necessarily the same thing. And I just want to touch on your point about going somewhere where you didn't know much people. One of the best things that I started doing, listeners, are you listening? Even though I know a lot of people, I started going places, and why I even know a lot of people is because I started going places by myself. I
Right.
really started just intensely be like, okay, what if I'm in a room where I don't know anybody? Like, how am I gonna act? Who am I gonna be today? Like, and just allowing myself to be at a space where like I'm really thinking a lot like to myself. It made me gain a lot more confidence. And so then it's like, okay, now you're in a room where you don't know a lot of people. Perfect. So these are now a bunch of people that you can meet, that you can network with, and there's always the opportunity because sometimes the blessing is just for you. So sometimes if you're walking in a group, you're not gonna get to.
Mm,
Just like that +1, that was just for you. So that was for you to really gain and acquire. But I definitely know the feeling and how hard it can be to start going out on your own, especially because it seems very like taboo. But I remember once I've taken myself out to dinner before, a few times by myself. I think even like New Year's Eve, I went out by myself to this party that I like knew that I didn't know anyone. I ended up somebody there did know me, but they also only knew me because I went to an event before by myself. So it's like this thing where it's like,
right.
so I'm like trying to practice maybe traveling the world. So I'm like, if I can't go downtown by myself, how am I supposed to go to Atlanta?
I feel you. I definitely feel you. Yeah, I feel like this is like a conversation that like might need like a part two because again, there's so much even in this like last bit where like it could be a full episode and everything like that.
Yes, we got those vibes.
For sure, for sure. Okay, that's actually everything I have for this episode. But Koi, thank you so much for coming on the Safe Room. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. It has been a great time. I'm honored to be on the safe room. I've definitely been keeping watch of you for a while, so I'm glad to finally be here and us making it work because it's been a great conversation. I can't wait to put this on my website.
Yes, I really, really appreciate that. Where can people find you on social media so they can connect? Just catch a little vibe. Definitely get some koi in the process as well.
Yes. So you can find me at www.needsomekoi.com or Need Some Koi on all platforms, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. And it's one S, so NEEDSOMEKOI, not needs some koi, needs some koi.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Really appreciate that. Appreciate that. But again, thank you so much for coming on. The energy was there. I called it from the beginning, so like it was there from top to bottom. So I really appreciate you just being on here for this conversation and just know that you're welcome back anytime.
Thank you. I'll definitely be back again with a lot more to share. So thank you so much for having me, and thank you for providing this spot for the community to come and feel safe to share.
Yes, of course, of course. And to everyone listening, thank you guys for tuning in. You can follow us on Instagram at the Safe Room Official. Check us out on TikTok. I will be posting content very soon on TikTok. I've been very MIA. When I say MIA, I mean like completely incognito on that platform, but I'm looking to get back on the swing of things for the TikTok. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'll let you know there will be a couple of videos dropping very, very soon. I don't know when this episode is going to be out. I have so much episode I need to like get on. But when it does come out, go subscribe to our YouTube channel in the meantime. And yeah, I mean, again, I'm really happy to have you here. We had a great conversation and I can't wait to chat it up once again in the future. I know like if I had to bring someone back, you're probably going to be number one on my list for sure.
Aw, thank you so much, Don. Like, this is definitely the beginning of many more conversations.
Yes, for sure, for sure. Thank you guys again for listening and we'll see you guys next time.